this is a little bit difficult for me because my life is insane. It's not an average normal life. And but yeah, so we are gonna start this video off with my backstory, and then we'll get into some questions that I looked up on ChatGPT just to let you guys know me intimately. So if you guys don't want to know my backstory, you can fast forward to the more blase, you know, normal questions that everybody asks themselves to share, you know, with YouTube. But I kind of wanted to let you guys know about my life. And it's a roller coaster. It is crazy. So get your popcorn, get some wine, sit back, and let's get started. Okay, so I was born on the south side of Chicago, and I lived there until I was about 3 months old. That's when my parents got a divorce. I am a child of divorce. Yeah, but it's cool because I'm very close to my dad, and I'm still cool with my mom. And so we moved to Naperville, which is a suburb outside of Chicago. We lived in Naperville, we lived in Bolingbrook, we lived in Romeoville. So Romeoville is what I consider my hometown. I've been here the longest. I started 4th grade here, and then I graduated 5th grade here. We moved around a lot, okay? We lived in Chicago, we lived in the suburbs of Chicago, we lived in North Carolina, but I did most of my life in Romeoville. So living here, I graduated in 5th grade, and my entire family lives here on my mom's side. So I'm very close with my family and friends here, and this is where I have my roots. But the summer of me finishing 5th grade, going into 6th grade, my mom dropped this huge bomb on us that we were going to move to Africa. Side note, my mom is a part of the lifestyle or the religion. It's really not a religion. It can very much be looked at as like a cult of Rastafarianism. And so she was very, very heavy into that lifestyle and that belief. And she decided that it would be a great idea to move me and my brothers to Ethiopia. So the summer I graduated 5th grade was filled with packing up my clothes, packing up my belongings. Mind you, we lived in a 3-bedroom, 2-story home in the suburbs of Chicago. Very nice area where we had Walmart down the street, we had Dominick's, we had Target, we had Rhodes, and then we moved all the way to Ethiopia, which is a country in Africa, okay? And then in Ethiopia, we lived 3 hours away from the capital, which is Addis Ababa. We moved to Shashemene. This was Shashemene in 2004. This is not Shashemene in 2024. This is not Shashemene in 2020. This is Shashemene in 2004. So mind you, I just told you I lived a very rural, a very regular, normal life in the suburbs. And I moved all the way to Shashemene, Ethiopia, and we are having to go get our food from the market, okay, in a horse and buggy. They didn't have taxis at this time. They didn't have a lot at this time. So we're in a horse and buggy on our way to the market to buy food that was freshly grown out of the ground and sold on the ground by market sellers. It was the biggest culture shock of my life, you guys. Definitely a huge defining thing for me, why I am who I am. It was my mother and my 2 little brothers, no male figure, just us. And she was there on a hope and a dream. And so we moved into this completely concrete house. There was a tin roof. Like, it was literally like a shanty. And I had to really learn how to make the best of my situation. So at 11 years old, you know, you're going into 6th grade, the most important thing is friends. So that's what I did. I made a lot of friends with the children who were more so similar to me, because in Shashemene there's this huge community of Rastafarians who moved there on a land grant that Haile Selassie, who a lot of people believe, a lot of Rastafarians believe is Jesus Christ come again. He set aside this piece of land because when Ethiopia and Italy were fighting, fun fact, Ethiopia is one of the only African countries that's never been colonized. So when Italy had come to try to colonize Ethiopia, help came from the West, from all over the world, to make sure this didn't go through, and Mussolini was not able to conquer Ethiopia. So Haile Selassie set aside this piece of land for anybody from out west. That's what we call out west. When out west is somewhere in America or the United States or the islands, etc., etc. That was not Africa. So a lot of Rastafarians believed that they were to move back to Ethiopia. This was the promised land. This was the Garden of Eden, and this is what God intended for them to do. My mother was a part of that group of people, and so we moved to Africa. And like I said, there was no running water in our home, so we had to fill up these huge jerry cans of water. And I was very upset, but I was very intrigued at the same time, because you come from a home that you can just hop in the shower, brush your teeth. You really just take all those things for granted, and then you get to this country where you have to go fill up jerry cans. That's what we call them, jerry cans. There were these plastic buckets that you could close on the top. You would fill them up at a community water hole, and then you would take them back home to wash your dishes, to take a bath, you really didn't want to cook with this water, but if you boiled it down really good, it could work. And then we had rainwater. It rained so much in Africa that you could, well, in the region that I lived in, that you could fill up these huge, and they were so big, they were barrels. They were huge barrels, and the rainwater would catch in them. So when I say we was living the life, we were living the life. Okay, so from 6th grade to high school, I lived in Ethiopia, so that was 6 years of my life. And I made lifelong friends there, and I learned a lot of lessons that have carried over to my adulthood. And I really have a lot of traditions and culture ingrained in me because it was a part of my formative years growing up. Once I hit 18, I was engaged, y'all. I thought I was going to be married and I was going to have my house in Ethiopia, and that was it. Now, before I went to Ethiopia, I had dreams of going to college and getting a career. I wanted to be in fashion. I loved fashion. Didn't know how I was going to be in fashion, but I always had the natural knack to be I had the natural eye. You feel me? Like, people always came to me to ask for fashion advice. And even though I lived in this country where we were very poor, because we were very poor, and we barely were able to get new clothing, I still was able to mix and match the outfits that I had to look fashionable, and people still came to me, even adults came to me for fashion advice. So fashion has always been a part of my DNA, like it's naturally in me, right? So I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, because in Ethiopia there were not a lot of after school programs, there weren't a lot of mentorships, there was no opportunity where I lived. There was nothing there. You would either be a restaurant owner or maybe sew clothing or make like food for people. There was very, very little things that you could do in Shashemene and create a life for yourself and be flourishing and have a career. So from 6th grade to 12th grade, I'll be completely honest, I didn't go to school. I dropped out, like, I don't even want to say dropped out. I went to each year of school, but I barely went to school because the way that it's set up, a lot of the children in rural areas of Africa are from farming families. So depending on what season it is, they have to be at home helping to farm the different vegetables or herd the cattle. And so the teachers in this region knew these things. They knew that the children weren't going to always be there because they had to serve their family first. So there wasn't a lot of roll call, check you if you're here. If you're not here, we're calling your parents. I was as free as a bird. And a lot of times I didn't go to school because once 6th grade came around, it was fully in Amharic. And Amharic is a very difficult language to learn. And it's even more difficult to read. So imagine you already have learned up to 5th grade in English, and now you have to learn a new language and then go to school and be learning in this new language. It didn't work for me, guys. So I kind of lost myself out there. I didn't remember the dreams that I had, the goals that I had, and I just came back home. So once I graduated from high school, I had a long-term boyfriend from 15 to 20 years old, and we were already engaged by the time we were 18. We were supposed to take over his dad's factory. We had our life in front of us. We knew what we were going to do, and it was like a part of our culture, a part of the cult that we were in. We were to get married and to have children, and that was kind of it. There wasn't much for us out there. And so that's kind of where my life was just like setting into a lull. We had our first baby by the time I was 18. And it was when I had my daughter that I knew, no, remember, wake up. You had a life before this. You had goals, you had dreams, you had things you wanted to do before this. So yeah, get back into it. So there was a lot of circumstances and situations that happened between me and my child's father at that time, and we ended up breaking up. I got a one-way ticket home to America, and I immediately got into college. I knew I had to build a life for my little girl. I knew I had to give her something better than what I had, so I got hard to work in doing that. I originally went to college to be a nurse. Did I really want to be a nurse? No. I just came from a background of family that were into the medical field. My grandmother was a pediatrician and she had her own practice. My grandfather was a psychiatrist and he worked in the prisons, and they were very successful. They had a very successful lifestyle, a very wealthy luxury lifestyle. They took me on my first cruise. They had a mini mansion in Naperville. We really lived the life when we were with them, and I knew that I had goals and aspirations of living the same type of life as that. I just didn't know how to get there. My mom didn't finish college, and my dad was a world away while I was living in Africa, so that influence wasn't there for me. So when I finally came home back to America, I was very lost of who I was. I had dreadlocks from the point that I was born until I was 18. I cut them off. I was only allowed to wear skirts. I could wear a pair of pants on Friday. I said, no, I'm done with that. I'm going to start wearing shorts. I'm going to start wearing makeup. I had to cover my hair. My entire life it either was wrapped in a head wrap or was in a hat or I had a kerchief on it. I said I'm done with that. So I was at a point in my life where I had to figure out my identity as a grown woman now. I'm 18 years old. I'm away from the only parent who has raised me mostly and up from under her influence and her belief and her ideologies, because we definitely clashed a lot because I didn't agree with a lot of things she would do and she believed in. So I'm 18 now with this little baby. I'm a single mom and I'm back home in America trying to figure out what to do. Who am I? Where do I go from here? So I said, okay, you know what? My grandparents are in the medical field and they were really successful. I want to be successful. That's it. I just want to be successful and make 6 figures and have a nice life. Okay, that's really where my mind was. So I decided to go into nursing. So I didn't do well because when I came back home, I wanted to party, I wanted to drink, I wanted to be free. I wanted to be wild and crazy and do all the things that I wasn't allowed to do when I was younger and I was under my mom, who was a very, very strict parent. So I wasn't studying like I was supposed to. I was mixing up with people I probably shouldn't have. And I ended up not graduating from my classes and doing well in my classes at that time. And I was still trying to figure out who I was. What did I want to be? I knew I loved fashion. I knew I loved entrepreneurship, but I knew that the safe route would be to go into the medical field, to become a doctor, things like that. So one day I was sitting at home and I saw the first episode of Being Mary Jane, and it was something about that show, y'all, that I saw myself sitting in the seat of Gabrielle Union, and I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I didn't know what kind of journalist, but I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be on air. I wanted to be a personality. I wanted to spread my light and my shine everywhere. So I decided to go back into school with my family's support and get my degree in public relations and advertising. And I had a minor in journalism. I think the best part about college was sitting behind the news desk and being a personality on the news desk on air. I learned how to write stories, I learned how to interview people, and I also learned about advertising and public relations and those fields. My teacher took us to go see Windy City Live. I saw Al Warner and I said, oh my God, I want to be her. I wanted to be her so bad, and she is the most beautiful, inspirational, well-spoken woman that is someone that I definitely looked up to. Once graduation happened though, life really hit me in my face. At this time I had my second daughter, and so I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, and I wasn't able to move around freely the way I needed to, nor the way that I wanted to. And so I had to do what was given to me. I had lived through COVID, so I wasn't able to do internships on hand and be in the room with people and make those connections that you need to make before you graduate from college. So that was already like something that was against me finding a job. I didn't make the right connections and network while I was in college because I didn't know how I was going to do what I wanted to do. A great opportunity fell in my lap during COVID, and I was able to open a boutique, but I had very little knowledge of running a business at that time, and my overhead was way too expensive for what I was bringing in. And I learned so much about business during this time, you guys. I learned how to market, personal branding, how to create a launch, how to do business credit, how to manage your finances when you're creating a business, putting aside money for taxes, putting aside money for inventory, how to pay yourself, how to find a vendor. I actually made a whole guide book around if you're a beginner and you want to start your own boutique. So let me know. I'll drop it in the comments if you're interested. And so I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm finally have my shop. I've overcome all of this. I've graduated. I have my boutique. COVID happened. It was like, yeah, no. So it really humbled me. I had an internship in college that I thought I was going to be able to go into that job when I graduated, and they took a long time getting back to me. So at this point, I'm in survival mode. Like, all right, I need to pay the bills. I need to pay the rent. My partner was trying to build his career at that time, so there was only so much he could do for me. And it was just really like, okay, it's time to find yourself. It's time to figure out what it is that you want to do, what it is that you can do. And I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where my strength lies, but I still wasn't able to navigate into that. So the 2 jobs that I had after I got out of college didn't fit me well. They just did not fit me well. They were very manual, very salesy, and those are just not my strengths. And so I got let go a couple of months ago, and here I am, back on my journey of a content creator, back on my journey as an influencer, back on my journey of doing what I know is best for me, what was called for me, and I've been doing amazing ever since. It's like, when you find what you love to do, nobody has to tell you to do it. You just do it by yourself. You do it with nobody telling you how. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn yourself. You're gonna pick up books. You're gonna do the training yourself, or do the research by yourself. You're going to take it into your own hands and your own accord to do what you love to do. So I have now come into the journey and the side of being a full-time fashion influencer, content creator, and really being able to see my journey, because my partner is my biggest inspiration. He was fired from his job, and he took his career from being fired to being one of the biggest in his field to ever do it. And he's leaving a legacy behind. And it's so hard to be around that greatness. It's so hard to be around that much energy and that much success without saying, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself this time. I'm gonna make sure I win. I'm gonna put all of my cards, all of my eggs in my basket, and I'm gonna bet on me. And so I'm here, I'm sharing my life with you guys, and I just hope you enjoyed getting to know me. So we're gonna get into these questions, these 25 questions. I really don't even know how long my intro is. I just flowed, and I kind of just wanted to let you guys know who I am. My videos don't have to be this long, and they probably won't be this long, but this is just for people who want to get to know me in depth. So I have a few questions I'm going to answer, and I really don't want this video to be more than 30 minutes. Okay, so the first question is, what's your full name and its significance? I am not going to share my full name, but my first name is Mayette, and my middle name is Marie. My name is Mayette because my mother wanted to name me Ma'at, which she was heavy into Egyptology at this point. Ma'at is the goddess of truth and justice, and she didn't know how to spell it at the time when I was born, so she put M-A-Y-E-T, and my family just started calling me Mayette, and it stuck. So she still calls me Ma'at, and my brothers still call me Ma'at, but my name is, on my birth certificate, Mayette. Where were you born and raised? I already let you guys know that. I was born in Chicago, and I was raised in the suburbs of Chicago, and half of my life was raised in Ethiopia, and the other half was raised in Chicago. Do you have any siblings? If so, how many, and where do you fall in the birth order? So I have 3 brothers, and I am the oldest sister. What's your zodiac sign, and do you think it reflects your personality? I told you guys at the beginning, I am a Scorpio, and yes, I definitely feel like my personality reflects my zodiac sign. My number 5 is, what's your favorite childhood memory? I think my favorite childhood memory is getting turkey sandwiches with my grandmother in downtown Naperville while she did her shopping at all of those Banana Republic and Taylor, etc. Got her outfits for her office. That's my favorite childhood memory. I'm very close with my grandmother, and spending time with her was always a treasure for me. Can you share a unique talent or skill you have? I can sing. I've talked so much though, I'm not about to sing right now, but I can sing. I can sing so good that they put me on tracks and they put me on projects that they wanted to make music for. I can sing. What is your favorite hobby or pastime? Shopping. Shopping. I love shopping and I love putting together outfits. That's my favorite pastime and my favorite hobby. What's your all-time favorite movie and why? This is really hard for me. I don't have an all-time favorite movie. I have a bunch of movies that are my favorite and I'll watch over and over again. But I would have to say that my favorite movie that I probably watched the most, yeah, y'all, Bend It Like Beckham. I know that a lot of people probably don't know that movie, but growing up, I was around so many people who were from the UK that kind of became a part of my personality as well. Bend It Like Beckham is about this young girl who wanted to play soccer, but her family did not approve of her playing soccer because she came from a Indian household, and I think they were Sikh, and they wanted her to get married, and she just wanted to play soccer, y'all. That's all she wanted to do was play soccer. I think it's my favorite movie because I love movies about women overcoming what, you know, society has put on them or their family has put on them, cultural norms, and doing what they love and going after a life that they love and attaining freedom. So I think that's why it's my favorite movie. Do you have any pets? No, I do not have pets. I do not like cleaning up poop, and I don't want to do it for someone who's not my child, so I don't have pets. What's your favorite food or cuisine? I love Ethiopian food. My favorite food is injera and wat. I'm sure that if you watched my backstory, you understand why. Coming up second is tacos, though. I do love some good tacos. Give me a steak taco with cilantro and onions and some lime and red and green salsa. I'm good. What's your dream travel destination and why? My dream travel destination, I don't have just one, but I definitely want to go to Bali because it is so beautiful, and I love places that are like away from civilization now as a grown adult who has a lot of overstimulating life days. I just want to be somewhere that's beautiful and the sun is shining and the ocean is blue and I can just relax. So Bali. We are manifesting Bali on this channel, y'all. I can't wait to take you guys to Bali. Okay, can you describe your perfect day from start to finish? Ooh, this is hard. It depends on what type of mood I'm in. My perfect day from start to finish would be to wake up and be able to lay in my bed for a little while and then go into the kitchen to breakfast that's already been made for me, and then I'm going to go shopping for a brand new outfit